Hi, it's Jan Beta, and we're going to talk about the Chat64 cartridges today, which are available for the Commodore 64, the Atari 8-bits, and also the ZX Spectrum. But I don't have that cartridge. So these two were sent to me recently by Theo and Bart from the Netherlands, who invented these and are also running the infrastructure that these work on. These are basically chat programs. They can connect to your Wi-Fi and offer a chat on your C64, Atari 800XL or ZX Spectrum 48K. Theo and Bart sent these to me for free to try out and to show on the channel, so thank you very much for that. I'm looking forward to trying these out. And I'm going to take you along with me on this journey. Let's see if we can chat with somebody. The whole project goes back to 2019 when the C64 version of this was created first. Because of course the Commodore 64 is the superior computer from that era. I'm looking forward to your angry comments. Things got refined a bit and it was made available for different systems, including the Ataris and the ZX Spectrum, because these three systems combined are probably the most used systems that are still in use today, and I guess they were the most used systems back in the day as well. The setup process should be super straightforward, according to what I've read on the website, which I recommend you check out because there's a lot more information on there than what I'm going to be able to tell you in this video. That's Chat64.nl for Netherlands. So this should be pretty much plug and play on all the systems. The software is very similar. The C64 version has a couple of functions that are not present in the other versions, but nothing major. The chat itself works fine on all the versions, and you should be able to chat in the same chat room with all systems. We're going to try that in a bit, once I have this set up. The setup process requires you to register your cartridge on the website one time, and of course it requires you to access your Wi-Fi. So this needs an internet connection, and that is handled by a little ESP32 board on the cartridge. And then there's a ROM, which has the software for the machine you're running this on, and the Wi-Fi connection magic is happening in the modern ESP32 microcontroller that's on there. I'm going to try to start this up and get it set up, and we're going to see how well this works and if anybody is online. Let me take a couple of seconds to thank the sponsor for this video, PCBWay, my favorite manufacturer of prototype PCBs of all kinds. They can also do CNC machining, 3D printing, sheet metal fabrication, injection molding, basically everything the tinkerer needs. And you can of course have your Chat64 cartridge PCBs produced there if you like. And they are currently celebrating their 11th anniversary, so there's a lot of discounts and all kinds of nice things to explore. So I highly recommend checking out the link in the video description. Back to checking out the Chat64 card. So pretty much standard Breadbin C64. This has a kernel switcher in there, so the LED is not quite the original one, but I've set it up to run the original kernel ROM. We should be able to just insert the cartridge into the regular cartridge port. Turn off the machine before you do that. And then we should be able to start it up, and we should be greeted with the Chat64. And I think there's also an LED here. We're going to see in a second. Switching on. Nope, no LED yet. But there's our startup screen. And I got some instructions. Thank you for your support. This is, I guess, the leaflet you get when you buy one of these from Theo and Bart. These are also openly available, and also the source code. I haven't looked at the source code itself, but it's available on GitHub. That's also linked on the website. So we are going to have to do the first boot, connect to Wi-Fi. We need to push the F1 button on the C64. Yeah, there's our Wi-Fi setup, and also an about screen. Initially developed by Bart Wanneker as a proof of concept, a new version of Chat64 is now available to everyone. We proudly bring you Chat64 3.0, made by Bart Wanneker and Theo van den Belt in 2023. Hardware and software open source and a manual are available on GitHub. That's the GitHub link. I'm also going to put a link in the video description to make it easier to click. Yeah, this is an open source project. Everything is open source. You can build these cartridges yourself and then upload the software to the EEPROM and the ESP32 and have a working Chat64 cartridge, just as you see here. So we need to set up the Wi-Fi. I'm probably not going to show you my Wi-Fi setup. Not connected to Wi-Fi, it says, at this point, because we haven't entered anything. So I managed to go online. I'm not going to show you my credentials here, even though it's a guest network that I just set up for this purpose. So yeah, we are going to exit the menu with F7. And we're going to go into the server setup. And for this, you need a more modern computer with an internet connection to register the cartridge, as I said. So we're going to register with Chat64 NL. That's at the moment the only server that exists for this, but you can set up your own server, and that is encouraged by the makers of these cartridges. So we're going to save the settings. Please wait. And now it's contacting the server, I think. We actually have the LED lighting up when the network is accessed. We can access the account setup now. That's F2. Registration ID unregistered. So we need to input this MAC address on the website. So let's do the registration on the actual modern day website. So here we are at chat64.nl, and there's a prominent feature here, register your cartridge, that we are going to put our credentials in. Again, I'm going to blur this all so you can't hack my Chat64. Okay, that's my MAC address that's displayed on the C64 that's running in the background. Register now. Please check your email for the registration code. So, let's do it like this. Takes a while to submit. Yeah, there we go. Thursday evening is usually the time where there's a chat group gathering around the campfire. And it is Thursday, so probably I'm just going to wait for the evening and have some more people in the chat. So now hooking up the Atari. These cartridges look very similar, of course. These systems are from a similar era. But this goes in here on this system, and some of the newer Ataris have the cartridge port in the back, just like the C64. There we go. Yeah, let's try this on the Atari. I already connected my network on this, and it should look very similar. Yeah, now it's loading from the ESP32. So we have the Wi-Fi setup, server, save settings, connected to chat server. Okay. So now we can set up an account, and we need to do the same. It's actually exactly the same that we did with the C64 version. So I'm not going to show you this part again. It's literally the same. You enter the MAC address on the website, and then you get the registration ID, and you can choose a nickname. I'm probably going to go with something like Jan Beta Atari or something like that. So did the same process. My registration was successful, and I'm J Beta Atari. Now we have the full menu here as well, and we can exit it, and we should get right into the chat. I'm going to have to blur most of this because the person chatting there wasn't okay with this appearing. I'm just going to push escape and update. Or upgrade rather, because it's the firmware. Update complete. And it's going to reset. Yeah, there we go. And as I said, there's also a version for the ZX Spectrum. Now if I hit start, spacebar. So we're getting instantly into the chat. So this is pretty cool actually. So now I have joined the chat here. And I can quit this with the escape key. And I can change the color. Oh, I can change the background color. And the foreground color. Okay, that's actually pretty neat. This looks kind of Atari-like. That's pretty cool. Yeah! Does it say something else? New version of Chat64 is now available to everyone. We had that before. The Atari 800 version is also available, which is this one, of course. Nice!
Later that same evening.
So it's Thursday evening now, and there's a lot more people in the chat. So asking for consent. Maybe you can see some people. Some people are saying hello. And there is a bit of delay, of course. And some of the people are okay with appearing on video. So this is fun. There's a lot of people here. And you can change the colors in the chat with the usual color changing keys, which are Control and the 1 to 8 number keys, and Commodore key and 1 to 8 on the C64. So you have all 16 colors. And yeah, it's basically a chat through the modern internet. That's Theo and Bart in the chat there. Yeah, that's Chat64 NL. So this is how the chat really looks in real life. I'm not going to unnerve everyone by putting this on video any longer, but you probably get the feel of this. This is really like any chat you would be used to, but it's running on a C64 through the modern internet, which is pretty amazing. And it's after setting this cartridge up, you're just plugging this in and you can chat away, basically. You just have to wait for the title screen to appear and then press F1 and you're in the chat. Bart asked me to try Eliza, which is the automated chatbot there. And I'm going to try. And I'm supposed to ask her what hardware she's running on. So let's do that next. There's also a feature coming, scrolling back in the chat, that's close to being finished, as I've heard from the makers of this cartridge. So let's chat to Eliza, I guess. So we can have private messaging here. You have to type out the names. So and the message handle that we're sending this to automatically change to the last person you private messaged, and you can change back to the general chat with the F5 key. So let's chat to Eliza. Oh, hello there, sweetheart. Affirmative. I am a chatbot, Eliza, running on an Amiga 500. Load from 5¼ floppy disks. Nice to meet you. Which disk drive are you running from? I'm of course interested in the hardware. Honey, I'm running from A drive. The floppy disk magic happens right here. And there you can see that all AI large language models, or in this case probably a smaller language model, this is fallible. So the A drive, not so much on an Amiga. Not the correct information. Let's ask how much RAM she has. 512 kilobytes of RAM, which is lovely for an 8-bit beauty like me. Again, the Amiga is a 16-bit computer, or 32 bits even, some might argue. This is of course just for fun. It's not really a useful feature unless you are really lonely and need someone to talk to that is a robot. Not much of a fan of talking to robots, but it's fascinating that this exists in this form you can access it from a C64. It's not really running on an Amiga 500. It was told to think so, or think so. So that chat was really fun and it worked really well. So I hope you got kind of a glimpse of the experience that this is. Unsurprisingly, there are very friendly people in the chat, at least this session that I just did and the session earlier today, where the person didn't want to appear in the video. You saw some blur, but it was a very friendly person, so thank you for chatting with me off camera. There are other ways to chat on a C64, of course. These days, at least, you can use BBSing, you can use several different cartridges. The WIG 64 cartridge also has a chat function. You can use other means. There's even a Mastodon client for the C64 these days. There are numerous ways of doing what I just did. This is a very, very plug-and-play solution. You just set up your network credentials and register on the website and off you go. And basically every time you put in the cartridge, you're directly in the chat again, which makes this a really fun and effortless way of having a chat. And I hope more people adopt it. At the moment, there's only a couple of handfuls of people, but maybe there's going to be more after you are watching this video, which you hopefully are doing at this point. I don't know why I'm even questioning that. You are clearly watching this video at this point. You can buy this cartridge from Theo and Bart directly from their Etsy store. You can buy it at the Retro8bit Shop. Yeah, that's it for today. I hope this was as fun to watch as it was fun to make this video. Thank you very much for your time. Special thanks to everybody who supports me on Patreon or on Ko-fi or on the YouTube channel memberships page or elsewhere. The links are on my website or in the video description. That's it for today. I'm Jan Beta. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.